Welcome back to the Working Faith podcast, where we take a spiritual approach to career success. I'm your host, Jalen Isley, and today we're talking about creativity and innovation. I'm excited to introduce Nazmul Siddiqui. Nazmul is a software engineer by education and trade who decided to explore a whole new venue, marketing. That was in 2020. So fast forward 3 or 4 years later, he's no longer a novice in the marketing space. And now he's here today to share how he takes a spiritual approach to delivering creativity and innovation for his clients. Nazmul, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Jalen. This is very nice. It's wonderful to be here.
Absolutely. I can't wait to hear more about how we can take a spiritual approach to creativity and innovation. But before we get there, let's talk about your spirituality. I know you identify as New Age. What are some of the core principles of that faith that resonate most with you?
So, New Age is a subjective model. So, the idea is you exposed to various religious and spiritual practices and norms and philosophies. You, as a person, decide what's true for you. You identify what's true for you and pick these various aspects of various religious activities and practices, and you build your own from scratch. You build the whole your spiritual model and declare to the world, this is my practice, this is my model. And
I
that
love
is the
it.
basis of New Age. Thank you.
Yeah. People are afraid to kind of dictate to themselves what works for them. And so I'm curious to hear more about, what you've decided works for you. What are some of the core principles that work for you in this New Age model?
So the three main principles that I have is love,
Hmm.
which is really the source of everything. Within even not love is within love.
Very true.
And if you as a person want to explore the not love aspects, those are very gratifying. They're very instantly gratifying. And so they'll take you down a path that may not look like love, but it's still within love. However, when your intention is to follow through with love itself, I think you said to me earlier is that whatever you do is the right thing to do if you're coming at it from love. And I completely believe that to be absolutely right on. Is that if you start out with the objective of love, you could never go wrong.
Very true. Very true.
So that being the first tenet, if you will. The second one would probably be freedom of expression. So freedom of expression is so important to the whole human model. Is that if you do not have freedom of expression, you have oppression.
Hmm.
And however small that is, it'll always build if you don't address it.
Mm-hmm.
And so freedom of expression is like a core part of your being to be free.
Right.
Freedom of expression is just the outward verifiable thing that you can look at. But the actual expression has to be you negotiating with you, identifying that that is in fact the case. And the third one is awareness, which really comes from meditation. So wisdom and awareness, those have hooks in the body at different energy points, if not to get too energetic about it. But there are hooks within the body, and there are different philosophies and ideas about those, but your whole body is filled with these hooks. And if you bring your awareness to a certain part of the body, which is the basis of meditation, is not thinking, leave the mind out, bring the awareness to the body, and you'll understand what that part is for. It will tell you what it's for. So you're essentially, all of your cells within your body talk to you constantly. You just have to listen to find out what they're saying.
Interesting. So we have love as the foundation, freedom of expression, and awareness that unlocks, the energy and all of the capabilities within the human experience. Do I have that right?
That's right. That is right on. Thank you for summarizing that. That is really the basis of this whole model, is whole my model.
Yeah, interesting. I love the fact that you keep referring to it as your model, because there is so much power in owning how you decide to approach life, how you would decide to approach people, how you decide to approach your career. And many of us struggle with just owning how we decide to tackle this world. Many of us, have been raised and for lack of a better word, bred to adhere to someone else's model. And then we start to blame someone else's model or what someone else did or how they approached us for the way that we're operating. And when you have the courage to take a look at yourself and decide for yourself what works for you, what you want to be known for, and how you want to show up in this world, that is such a powerful way to be. And all the greats, in history have had that sense of ownership in their perspective, in their approach, and in their behavior. So kudos to you for finding that and identifying that.
Thank you, Jalen. And ownership is a critical part of that freedom of expression. Is that the moment you delegate responsibility to somebody else, you've lost that battle. If you take ownership, yes, it may be difficult at first, but you'll get so much more thing out of it as a being. Not delegating. Delegation is the easy thing to do, right? You don't have time,
Right,
you
right.
don't want to take responsibility, you don't want to fix this, just make it somebody else's fault and move on.
Mm-hmm.
But that piles up and that becomes diseases within your body somewhere down the line because negative energy piles within your body.
Oh man, we're gonna need another podcast episode for that one. Yeah,
Yeah,
we're gonna have to
there's a lot in that one.
come back to that one. Okay, but for the sake of today, talk to me a little bit about how these three principles that you just shared, like how does that shape your approach to creativity? You're in marketing, you're dealing with different clients on a regular basis. How do your spiritual beliefs, shape how you approach creativity and innovation for your clients?
So one of the things that I'm doing currently is the practice of non-judgment because, if you analyze judgment from an engineering perspective, it's always going to be wrong because you'll never have enough information to make the right call. So
Hmm.
so knowing that your judgment's always going to be wrong, well, what's the point? Well, the point is gratification. It makes you feel good to do the judgment. It's like a little dopamine. It's like a little chocolate you do.
Interesting. That is so true.
So I've been
Yeah.
trying to practice non-judgment because, well, one, I'm always wrong and I don't need that dopamine. But still, I've created, like everybody else, not everybody else, most people, created a neural set of neural networks that's based on some of the things that we do. And we don't have to
Hmm.
think about it. If we have created a neural network, it runs on autopilot. All we have to do is be exposed to an aspect of that network, and bam, the whole thing runs. And
Yep.
in order to create new neural networks as a grown up, you have to do it from scratch. And that's a lot of work. But you have to put in the work if you want the results.
Hmm.
And that
Yeah.
work generally, in my case, involves meditation. But coming back to the client space of things, how I handle with client, which goes back to non-judgment again. Like when somebody wants something, if you find out where they're coming from intellectually, that goes a long ways. But the second deepest level is, you find out what they want spiritually. With a little meditation, you can connect with people, much easier than if you're just trying to connect physiologically or verbally. So meditation gives you a much deeper connection with people.
Hmm.
And you don't even have to try to find out where they're coming from. Once you get to that point, inherently as part of you what they're coming from. And then
Interesting. Because
you don't have to explain to them, they know, and they don't have to explain to you, But that requires a lot of effort to get to that point.
interesting. It's almost as if their energy is speaking to your energy because it's all one energy and
That
it
is
all
correct.
starts to flow. Yeah, I love that idea. Huh. So non-judgment allows you to or not allows but kind of unlocks this next level of creativity that allows you to deliver excellent results for your clients. Do I have that right?
Sure, sure. And also, there's another aspect to it. So, creativity and meditating on some points. Intuition comes from between the eyebrows, is a point, an energy point we have between the eyebrows. That is the most famous one, infamous, or if you will, in some cases. But, that essentially gives you access to knowledge as it exists. And with that comes creativity because within knowledge is an infinite set of pathways.
Mm-hmm.
and you have access to all of it. So essentially, if you're meditating on, from a soul figure perspective, that's number six. If you practice on number six, you can almost instantly, like even beginners will get instant access to so much information that you might, think it's just magic. Then how do you just
Yeah.
suddenly know all this information out of nowhere?
That's so interesting. So if you think about and feel free to correct me if I'm misinterpreting what you're saying here, but as it pertains to creativity, creativity is just a bundle of all of the different pathways we could potentially explore. And the more we're open and aware to that, the more creativity flows because you just have access to more opportunities. You have access to more pathways or more directions that you previously would have known about.
You always have the access. You always have
Hmm.
the access. As people, we have blocked off those access.
Right, right.
So what I'm getting
Hmm.
at is that I have found tricks to unblock those things that I had previously blocked.
I see. I see. Ah, amazing. Absolutely amazing. I think that is so ingenious. And yeah, you're spot on. If more people are able to unblock their access to these different pathways or ways of thinking or resolution or opportunities, then yeah, it will just flow naturally. You don't have to work so hard for it.
That's
It just
right. You
starts to
don't have to work.
flow.
It's all already there. You only have to work hard to undo the things that you did to you.
Interesting. Very interesting. Okay, great. Well, talk to me then. Okay, so let's give people a concrete example because we're kind of talking in the ether here. Let's bring it down and kind of crystallize this for the audience. Give me an example of a work challenge or an opportunity where you relied on these spiritual principles to unblock your creativity and guide your behavior.
And so I have this one client, a technical, I do a technical subscription for him. So he calls me up I'm essentially his geek squad. He calls me up with troubles and challenges, and we have a specific set of things that I do for him. And like he often asks me things that I'm not exposed to, that I hadn't done before. And sometimes I don't have enough time to learn whatever it is you're doing. So I have to learn really fast to give him an answer, in a very short period of time. Sometimes it's hours, sometimes days. So meditation is how I learn things. So I go in and, allow myself to accept that information. Essentially, that's the underlying philosophy. And then on top of that, if you could combine focus to it, then you can learn anything almost instantaneously. It's
Wow.
your body that's saying you can't do it because you've told your body to say that because you don't want to take the responsibility. That's the common pattern.
Mm.
But if you're able to get rid of that, which comes with a lot of practice, then you can accept whatever you decide to accept as fast as you want to accept it.
It's like your own internal Google search bar.
That's right.
I love it. Oh my goodness. Yeah, this is great. This is great. And so you were able to give this client information, solutions, feedback, not through doing extensive years of training or research or anything of that nature, but actually just meditating and applying a bit of focus to that challenge and allowing the answer to unfold and reveal itself to you. Do I have that right?
Yes, yes, basically.
Mind blown over here. Mind is blown. That is so fascinating. And I'm sure your client is very thankful that you have the
Yeah,
discipline to
yeah. The
meditate.
client is not unhappy. I have not been able to not give him an answer yet.
All right, we're going to keep that streak going. Absolutely. Okay. That is an excellent example of a challenge or an opportunity there. Talk to me about your spiritual wellness because you said several times now it takes practice and intentionality in terms of unleashing this inner power. Talk to me about your spiritual well-being. What are some of the practices you use? I know that you meditate, but what are some of the other things that you do to even give you the discipline to meditate on a regular basis?
So one of the main things to do is deep breathing. So essentially, deep breathing is the thing that ties it all together. That's the thing you can do without any of the others. That's the basis. So once you do deep breathing, you can bring your attention away from the mind. So mind is the, you've heard of the monkey brain. It's a chatterbox. It's thinking of millions of things simultaneously for no reason at all. You are in charge, not your mind. So if
Mm-hmm.
you let your mind run rampant, it will, because it's like, I got nothing better to do. So in order to not not allow mind to run the show, you have to rein it in. And by reining it in, I mean not let it have control. Meditation is the basis away from the mind. It's awareness to being, and mind has no power over that one.
Interesting. Interesting. Okay. So deep breathing is something you do on a regular basis to maintain your spiritual health and your ability to go into these deep meditative practices on a regular basis.
Yeah,
Yes.
and another thing is grounding yourself. So another fundamental point is grounding. So if
Mm.
you're grounded, other things rely on you being grounded. So if you're not grounded, you're not able to do a lot of things well
Hmm.
unless you have practiced specific amount of practice in a specific subject matter. You can't do it well unless you're grounded. When you're grounded, you can do all things well.
Talk to me.
With
What do you mean by grounded? Tell
So
us more.
grounded is so it's in the meditation practices, grounding is essentially holding yourself down to the core of the earth. And
Hmm.
earth comes with a vast amount of energy. It's a massive energy source.
How do
And
you
if
hold yourself down to the earth? What do you do?
it's by thought.
Uh-huh.
So your body's grounding point is your hip bone at the end of your tailbone.
Hmm.
So if you imagine a cord going from the end of your tailbone to the core of the earth, that's how I, ground myself, bringing
Interesting.
that thought in continuously. So you're being anchored down to the center of the earth.
I can feel myself doing it right now. Like as you're saying it, I'm imagining, what you've just described here.
You'll get a sense of stability instantly.
So grounding and deep breathing, those are practices you use on a regular basis for your spiritual well-being. I'm gonna do I want to look into both of those. I think those are great recommendations in terms of it. It almost kind of feels like you're just going back to basics. It feels like a return to a natural state of being. Even when babies can breathe deeply, and babies have like this very basic core need to just feel grounded and supported. And so it's almost like this is just back to basics for
Back to
us,
basics, right on.
which is where there's the most power. So
That is exactly right.
great,
We just
great.
lose that power over time. There's a famous
Yeah.
quote from Rumi, and I don't remember the exact quote, but it goes like, I don't know if your audience is
I
familiar
love
with Rumi.
Rumi. Yeah, I love Rumi. If you don't
Me
know
too.
Rumi, audience, go look up Rumi. It's a good time.
So one of his famous quote is about the human being an interesting being, is that we're holding the key to the prison cell we're in, and we're wondering,
Mm.
why can't we get out?
Yep. Yeah, that's so powerful and so true. Yeah, you've got the key. Unlock the prison
That's right.
cell and
It's
move
a
on.
process. Unlocking the door and walking out is a process. It's not, trivial, but you have to intend to do it before you can do it.
Yeah, I was Thich Nhat Hanh, and audience, forgive me if I have pronounced his name incorrectly, but I love listening to him, Buddhist monk, who talked a lot about how present everything is for you if only you perceive it. And so if you combine that with Rumi saying, "Hey, we've got the keys to our own prison," the idea of being able to walk out of that prison can be a process, but it also doesn't have to be. It can be immediate, if you are open to it being immediate. If you tell yourself, "Hey, this prison no longer exists and I'm out of this prison here," it can be immediate, but that's up to the person. And that's what I love about New Age. Some people need the process. Some people, there's growth, there's healing, there's love. There are so many different experiences that come along with the process of navigating through that. And some people don't. Some people are just like, oh, I'm done with this. I'm moving on. And so New Age is really great in the sense of as you mentioned earlier, you decide what rings true for you. Let that be your truth and share that truth with the world and how you show up each day.
Absolutely. That's a well summarization of, what I'm saying.
Yeah, absolutely. This has been great. I have so thoroughly enjoyed this conversation today. We're coming to a close here, and you've shared so many gems that I almost, need to like list it out for everyone. You've shared so many gems today, but if you could do us a favor and just share one more, what's something we can do immediately? We're gearing up for the upcoming work week. What's one way we can take a new age approach to creativity or innovation in our careers?
So creativity, if you want to ground yourself first, I would recommend grounding yourself first and breathe deep for 2 minutes. 2 minutes. If you do that regularly, you'll see why you need to do that more.
Hmm.
That information will come to you naturally.
I think that's great and so practical and something that people can do immediately. And it's only
That's
two
right.
minutes, you all. It's only 2 minutes. You've got time to give yourself 2 minutes. So heed his advice and let's just see how the creativity flows from there. All right. Well, thank you so much once again. The audience, I have your LinkedIn information, so we'll be including your LinkedIn contact in the show notes so people can connect with you and see everything that you have going on. And audience, thank you so much for listening to Working Faith today. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. And if you have any career questions for me for future episodes, all that information can be found on the website, workingfaith.com, where you can find the podcast and you can also submit your questions to be answered in future episodes. So remember to subscribe, rate, and share the show with others. I'd love to hear your comments. You can engage directly with me by joining the Working Faith group on LinkedIn. And thanks again for listening. We'll be back next week with more tips on how you can take a spiritual approach to career success and work your faith. Good day.